Cantate 55 is a wonderful, wonderful cantata and very special, particularly for tenors, because it's our only solo cantata for tenor voice. This is actually the first time I've done the entire cantata. I've sung some of the arias before because they're incredibly beautiful. I first came across this cantata when I was just 18 years old, still a student, in the very early days of learning how to sing properly. And the first large-scale piece of Bach that I sang was the B minor Mass. I sang the solos in that, I think I was 18, for a very small amateur choir in England. And after the concert, an elderly lady came up to me and she said, "Oh, lovely singing. You must have a look at the solo cantata for tenor, Cantate 55. I said, "All right, okay, thank you very much." I'd never heard of it at this point. And the next day, funnily enough, I had a singing lesson, and I mentioned this conversation to my singing teacher. I said, this lady said I should have a look at Cantate 55, what do you think? And he sort of laughed at me in a very affectionate way and just said, "I think we should leave that cantata for a while yet." He said, "If you take a look at the score, you will perhaps understand why." And so I duly went to the library and had a look at the score, and just looking at the first movement alone, I realised that I certainly wasn't ready for it. It's such a challenging piece and lies so high in the tenor voice, a lot of it, that certainly is not one for an 18-year-old unless you're totally fearless. It's a very personal cantata. Certainly in the first movement, everything is in the first person, so it's always I, and God is just, I am unjust. And the use of the first person there makes it so personal. So in the first movement is very anguished and full of tension, and as a result the vocal writing is also like that. I mentioned already the very high writing, so already that gives an element of tension. It's also quite chromatic, which sort of gives this idea of being entangled and at great pains within oneself, which works really well, I think. Towards the sort of middle, I suppose, of the first movement, there's a hugely long and difficult drawn-out phrase from sort of bar 37, the end of bar 37 onwards. It's a long, long rising passage, repeating "Ich armer Mensch, ich Sündenknecht, ich armer Mensch, ich Sündenknecht." And then this passage, "I go before God, ich gehe vor Gottes." And this rises and rises and rises, and there's nowhere to breathe. Going right up to a high B flat. Very beautiful passage for me is the opening actually of the third movement, the Erbarme dich aria. You have this rising minor sixth, which is incredibly beautiful interval, and gives such a wonderful. I think it expresses this asking for mercy so very well. And the flute opens the aria with it, and then the first phrase for the tenor on Erbarme dich is also the same interval. It's really lovely, and the flute writing is so delicate and intricate, and then this very legato line for the tenor. It's wonderful.